year. Could I have nominations, please?
I'd like to know.
And can I have a seconder, please?
I'll second that, please, Chair.
Okay, any other nominations? Okay, all in favour? Okay, thank you. Councillor Mike Lewis is elected chair. He's not here at the moment. He's held up in traffic. So item 2, I'll go on to item 2, which is the election of the vice chair of the Pension Fund Committee for the 2024-25 municipal year. Could I have nominations, please?
Nominate Phil.
And I'd like to second that, Chair.
Okay, any other nominations? All in favour? Okay, thank you. Councillor Phil Downing is elected vice chair, and if I can ask him to take the chair prior to Councillor Mike Lewis being in attendance. Thank you, Chair. Apologies from Councillor Michael Locke and also from Karen Cobb.
Again, so you didn't there. Okay, thanks for that. 4 then is disclosures of personal and prejudicial interest. Anybody? Oh yes, we all have. Okay. I filled the form in as well. Yeah. Yes, it's the same as normal, unless anybody got anything different to declare. Yeah, we have we? Okay, I'll go first then. My brother's on the pension fund.
Will Thomas, member of the fund.
John?
Yeah, member of the fund.
That's anybody else? Right, Phil?
Patience.
Hello, Phil.
Yeah.
I and my wife are members of the fund. Okay, I haven't received a form to fill in, by the way, as well, please. Thank you.
Oh, it's on the way.
Lovely, thank you.
Right, nobody else? Officers?
Member of the fund, Chair.
Oh, Patience?
Member of the fund.
Okay, thank you, Patience. Yep.
Chair, can I give my apologies? Sorry, Chair, can I give my apology? I need to leave by 11:30.
Oh, I'll be finished by then. Wishful thinking. Right, officers, Jeff?
Member of the fund, Chairman.
I'm a member of the fund also.
There we are.
Yeah, and me as well, Chair. Thank you.
That's it. All declarations done?
I'm also a member of the fund, so that'll cover all agenda items, Chair, Vice Chair.
Yeah. Okay, thanks. Straight on to 5 then is to approve and sign the minutes of the previous meetings as a correct record, pages 1 to 5. So I'll go through each page. Page 1, page 2, page 3, page 4, page 5. Somebody move? Yeah. John? Yeah, but unseconded. We all agree? Thank you. 6 then is the audit plan. Who's doing that?
Hi.
Leanne, is it?
Yes, I'm here. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yeah, okay. We can all hear you.
Okay, so this is our audit plan, which most of you should be familiar with from previous years. So this is for the 23-24 audit year. The plan specifies our statutory responsibilities as your external auditor to fulfil our obligations under the Code of Audit Practice. From page 7 onwards, you can see our at a glance details there, and that details the materiality for the year, which is estimated to be around £29.1 million this year, with other lower levels of materiality for other key areas of the accounts, such as related parties and key management disclosures. Section 9, what we've got on page 9 is to do with significant risks that we see this year. Nothing major there. So that would be on page 9 and page 10 in both Exhibit 1 and Exhibit 2. We're hoping this year to start the audit work around about middle to the end of August and come to your November committee with our audit opinion. So speaking with Karen, we seem to think that that will all go to plan. Page 12 includes our audit fee for this year, which is £53,946. This does reflect a 6.4% increase, which is a flat rate percentage, which is across all audit bodies this year. And it's not specific to any issues that have arisen in your audit. As you know, we are unable to charge any more than what it costs us to deliver the audit. So therefore, this is an estimate at this point. And going through the next sort of pages, you can see the audit team is consistent this year, which is great. And then there's a few more details then about our commitment to audit quality and signposting for resources, should you wish to have a look at that going forward. Other than that, it's quite a clean audit plan, and happy to take any questions, really.
Jeff?
Thank you, Chairman. Thanks, Leanne. In our pre-meeting with the Chairman, the Chairman did raise the issue of materiality, and you did present this year's materiality level in your audit plan there, Leanne.
Yeah.
If you could, for the benefit of the rest of the committee, explain the importance of that level of materiality and what impact that has on the audit work that you're going to do. And then I've got a follow-up question as well after that as well. Thanks.
That's fine. So within our financial statements, the audit opinion that we provide is based on the truth and fairness of the accounts and whether the accounts have been properly prepared. What we do then is we use a level of materiality, which is based upon your gross asset value within the accounts. And what we've done for the audit plan purposes is used your last year's gross assets, which is 2.910 million. And then we take a percentage of that, and that is where we use our calculations to test any sample items that occur within your accounts. So with your accounts, that is quite a high materiality level, and that is what we work to then. In terms of any specific areas of interest, so when you look at key management personnel disclosures and related parties, these are at a lower level due to sort of what we would call material by nature items, so where they would be sort of relevant to the public, what the public would like to, pay personal attention to, really. So these have a lower level of materiality. I hope that explains it a little bit more.
Just to assure committee, Leanne, during your audit, it's not the assumption that you ignore all transactions below 29.1 million. It's just a materiality limit in terms of reporting.
That's right, yes, the reporting level. When we come to audit committee towards the end of the year, and what we've done in the past is that we will present anything which becomes over a lower level than 29 million, and you'll see those set out in the accounts. We also have, so what we do is we raise any misstatements over sort of our trivial level, which will be 5% of that materiality level of 29.1 million.
Thanks, Leanne. Also, Chairman, with your permission, I'd just like to highlight some issues raised within the audit report and the impact that it'll have on the audit report, the ISA 260 audit report that Leanne and her colleagues will present to committee in November. And that's on page 16, where they identify areas of other focus in their audit work, and that's the valuation of unquoted investments. As Leanne has indicated, Karen has completed her draft, her initial draft statement of accounts and annual report, and presented it to Leanne for audit, and it's in the pack for your consideration later on today. And that is largely in line with a pre-COVID audit timetable and timeline. And hence, a number of those private market and unquoted investments are included at estimate values because of that timing. The only way that it's possible to hit those deadlines is to include estimates, professional estimates, and in due course, when Leanne and her colleagues come to audit, we shall have the actuals, and we'll update the draft as and when we can before presenting it to Leanne. However, undoubtedly, at final audit, there will be some correction of misstatements as a result of actuals becoming available post estimate. So just to forewarn you and manage expectations in respect of the audit plan. Last year, if you recall, there were no corrections for misstatement because due to the timeline of the audit and the presentation of the report for audit, it was a lot later. Karen was able to include all the actuals, so there were no corrections of misstatements because we could include the actuals. But this year, because we're trying to get back to pre-COVID timetables, means that we have had to include estimated figures within the statement. Hope that's clear, Chair.
Thank you, Jeff. Just to be clear, that those estimates are there because of the forces beyond our control that we cannot know these figures until they're published to us.
Correct, Chairman. It's stuff like property investments, private equity investments, which often have a lag. They're not publicly quoted. For example, they have to send out a RICS qualified surveyor to survey the property, come back, report, to do a rent assessment, etc., and it tends to be date plus 90 days at least before you get the valuation. Hence that lag.
Thank you for that. Fine. That report is just for noting, I believe, as I was quite late coming in. I do apologise to all of you. I was stuck in traffic and there's no way I could get you any quicker. Okay then, moving on to item 7, which is the City and County Draft Pension Fund Annual Report and Statements of Accounts for 2023-2004. And I believe this over to you, Jeff.
Thank you, Chairman. Obviously, this is usually one of the main reports that the Pension Fund Committee consider in its work plan during the year. However, I feel a lot of the thunder of this report has been stolen by the very positive press report that was published on Wales Online over the weekend, where the Wales Online reporter Richard Liu very succinctly and very successfully preceded this report and drew out the headlines in his article. And I have previously circulated the link to committee members to that article, in which he outlines the very positive year again for the fund, not only in absolute terms but relative to its LGPS peers again in 23-24. As per regulatory guidelines and expectations and Audit Wales's expectations, we produce this annual report and statement of accounts in line with their expected timetable. It's due to get finally signed off in November, but before you today is a draft version of that annual report for your consideration and approval before it's submitted to Audit Wales to do their work. It is quite a hefty document as required. There is ongoing work at Scheme Advisory Board to rationalise this, and some of you eagle-eyed readers of this document may notice now that some documents that have historically been appended to this, as was required in full, are now included as hyperlinks or directed to other sources for you to access, because we're trying to make it more user friendly, not only locally but on a national basis. That, you know, there has been some observations that it is quite a hefty document now. You'll be pleased to know I'm not planning to go through it line by line. As I say, the Wales Online article has drawn out the important and salient points of the report. But for completeness, and for those who may have missed it, page 3 of the report and page 28 of your pack is the usual 3-year profile statistics of the fund. As you know, the LGPS is a defined benefit scheme which is open to new accruals. We've always been very positive of that fact that it is open to new accruals. And as you can see at the bottom, there is a slight increase in number of contributors in the year by 4 there at the bottom, which indicates it is still open. But an important nuance, as you can see, is that positivity is diminishing, and so in due course the fund will have to take in consideration the maturity and the profile of those liabilities in due course, and amend our investment strategy accordingly. You know, the most recent work that was undertaken by our actuary indicated that, you know, we've still got about 6 years before we reach that tipping point of fund maturity. As you can also see there on page 28, at long last, after a number of years of flirting with that £3 billion threshold, we quite categorically smashed through that threshold in 23-24, with the fund being valued at £3.3 billion at the end of 23-24. All that you know, market leading outperformance is highlighted a bit later on in the report on page 137, which highlights that the fund returned 12.9% during the year against an average LGPS return of 9.1%. That's in year. Over 3 years, it's averaged 7.5% against an average of 5.3%. And over 5 years, it's averaged 9.4% against the average of 6.5%. So against all time periods, we are well above the median, and we are in upper decile, i.e. top 10 in all time periods going back to 30 years. So that's quite pleasing in terms of consistency of performance, but also trending in the right direction, and the improved performance is definitely in the most recent time periods. On page 138 of the report, then, in relation to that outperformance, is an extract of the investments that we've made and the investment methodology that we've adopted in line with our consultants' Hymans to achieve our net zero objectives and local impact objectives. So on page 138, it highlights you know, the recent allocations to timber, agriculture, the renewables commitment that we've made with our WPP partners via Capital Dynamics Wales wide, the community housing allocations that we've made, and also it references the very local investment that the committee approved, the biomass plant down the road, which the committee and the board visited and did some on-site due diligence on last year. So that's highlighted on page 38, and that investment performance is all the more pleasing that it's been achieved whilst implementing that decarbonisation, net zero, impact investment agenda in parallel. On page 20 of the report and page 45 of the pack is the start of the admin report, and on those subsequent pages indicates the legislative changes to the scheme, and you know, the most important role of the fund highlights and outlines our interactions with members and their feedback as a result of their service received from the fund, and the results of our customer service satisfaction surveys and complement and complaints policy, and PIs associated with that. On page 28 of the report and 53 of your pack is a brief outline of the progress of work undertaken with our partners in the Wales Pension Partnership. Later on in the report will be a bit more detailed update on that work. However, for annual report purposes, this is a summary of what's happened during 23-24. There is an element of this report which is still very much in draft form, and that's on page 46 of the report and page 71 of the pack, which is the annual governance statement. The annual governance statement is the annual governance statement of the council, because it's Swansea Council appointed as the admin authority of the City and County of Swansea pension scheme. So it's very much the governance arrangements of Swansea Council that we need to consider, and that is still in draft form. That is yet to be approved within the financial statements of Swansea Council itself. So this is included here in draft form, as I say, from page 46 to 71. But I don't expect material changes to that annual governance statement as a result of the conclusion of the financial statements later on this month. And then I suppose lost in all, the content of this report is really, the main rationale for this, and what Leanne and her colleagues are interested in really is the statement of accounts and fund account, which starts on page 92 of the report and page 117 of your pack. We can see a quick summary on that page. Then you flip over onto page 118 of your pack. We've got the fund account giving the key numbers for the fund in dealing with members, contributions received, benefits paid out, costs incurred in respect of running the fund, and management expenses. As I say, giving a closing net assets of the fund at 3.3 billion. And then the rest of the report is those numbers sliced and diced in a number of ways as required by audit standards, from page 124 to 143. But if I could draw your attention to page 124 of the pack, you can see the whole list of employers within the scheme, both scheduled employers and ones which have been admitted at the discretion of this committee. And as you can see, there are a couple of new ones since last time we presented this report, and committee will be aware of them because they've approved their admission. And then you can see Mrs. Bucket and Kingdom Services there as newly admitted bodies within the scheme during the last year. I think, Chairman, I'm happy to leave it there and open to questions should there be any.
Have we any questions in the room? Yeah, Phil?
Yeah, just to start off to say it's great we're in this position, because I've been sitting here many years ago when we had black holes. I don't know if anyone remember them. And what I'm trying to say is that while we're in this position, there's also a benefit to the council as a whole. And I think that gets echoed in our budget statement this year by the leader. So long may it continue. just, well, on my page 30, page 31, you know, you read it closely at the beginning, and then, you know, my glasses seem to mist up as you go through page 100 and on, like. But we've got there premature retirement pension costs, and we got totals there. So are they, before I go further, are they millions? They are thousands, are they?
No, sorry, Phil, they are millions. There is the missing 000 after the pounds on the top. Yes, yeah. Sorry.
I'm only pointing out the difference in costs between last year and this year, when we've made 4 million this year. And if you go down then to early retirement, there's a big difference there as well. Although on one line you've got total 18, but if you add them up, it comes to a lot more than 18.
To be clear, Councillor Downing, ill health retirements are a direct cost to the fund, and early access to pensions at the bottom of that page are rechargeable to the employer. So, for example, on the bottom table there, where you see 37 cases of 3.6 million in 22-23 and 30 cases, 1.3 million in 23-24, all those costs would have been recharged to Swansea Council, and similarly the line below, the 1.8 million and the 141,000 would have been recharged to Neath Port Talbot Council. However, the ill health retirements, the ones at the top, are a cost borne by the fund. These will be taken into account by the actuary next year when we undertake trial and evaluation, and those costs experienced by those different employers will be revisited upon those employers as part of the valuation process.
Okay, thanks, Chef.
Any other questions online or in the room? Fine. Just like to add, sorry, I didn't see you there. I was looking at the screen.
All right, thanks, Chair. Yeah, I just wanted to thank Jeff, particularly, and your team. I think it's really impressive, and as we keep saying year on year, it's saved money for the council. It's fantastic for all the members of the fund. So you and your team, thank you very much for obviously the great job that you're all doing, and all this while leading the way on, you know, decarbonisation and biodiversity. It's really impressive, and hopefully, you know, you get the credit that that the team and yourself deserve. So thank you and well done. Cheers.
Thank you. Yes, and as chair, I'd just like to say that echo those comments. That congratulations to the team, and also congratulations to the committee who have implemented the investment policy and the direction of travel that we have been pursuing over the last couple of years. And it seems to have paid off in big time. So, and all this while we've been de-risking, which hasn't been mentioned this afternoon. And this is another aspect that the committee looked at last year and decided to go down that route of de-risking. And even with that in mind, we are still making an extensive amount of money every year. So congratulations to your team and to the committee.
Thank you, those kind words, Chair, and Councillor Thomas, Councillor Downing, and other committee members. You're quite right, Chairman, in recognising the committee and the support throughout this process. Not only during the recent past, but obviously this has been a long time in formulation, and you know, along with our partners at Hymans Robinson, you know, I don't know how many advisors we've been through. We've worn them out so many. They keep having to send reinforcements. But no, I want to put on record our thanks to Hymans Robinson, who've assisted in that journey, and our partners at WPP that have helped us implement those strategies. And you know, we'll be hearing from Russell Investments later on, presenting to us, and like to thank them as well. One person I haven't thanked personally, again, and I deserve to be shot for not recognising her. She's not even here today. She's, you know, in a dark room, probably with a cold tower over her head for after producing this report, because it is a magnus opus in itself, as Leanne will recognise. Yeah, I'd like to thank Karen Cobb, ostensibly, and also her colleagues, Claire Elliott, who we're thinking of today, and Nick Jenkins and all the admin team as well, because obviously they're doing the important job of actually paying pension benefits. They're the reason why we're here, and they're at the coalface making those payments on a monthly basis and dealing with our members very efficiently and effectively. So it would be remiss of me not to recognise them, and also our legal advisors, Carolyn and Jeremy, and Democratic Services as well. Thanks.
Thank you for that. Well, that be all being said, I nothing more to approve and go to the vote, is it?
Yes.
Yes.
You see the recommendation that the City and County of Swansea Pension Fund draft annual report and statement of accounts 23-24 is approved, subject to audit. All those in favour? That's carried, Chair. That's unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Moving on then to item 8, which is the mission body agreement amendment. So I believe this is you again, Chair.
Thank you, Chairman. As I mentioned in the previous item, you would have noticed that Mrs. Bucket is already an admitted body in the scheme. You know, so you're thinking, well, why do we have to admit them again? However, this is a result of a different cohort of staff as a result of contractual arrangements with a different school. So just for completeness and transparency, we thought it prudent to bring this report to you here again, just so you could approve the additional membership of the additional cohort of of workers from this separate school. Hopefully, with improved comms with the schools directorate, perhaps we can adopt a blanket approach for future future contractual arrangements which are made with Mrs. Bucket going forward. However, to recognise this additional cohort, it requires committee to approve the amendment to that agreement and approve this additional tranche of staff to be brought in. Just as a reminder, a school is determined to outsource its cleaning arrangements and has appointed Mrs. Bucket. The employees previously were engaged by the council. They've transferred to Mrs. Bucket. So to maintain and safeguard their pension membership, we need to recognise Mrs. Bucket as an admitted body in respect of this new cohort of staff.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thanks. Just one question. Just wondering, when we transfer staff, is there a minimum time period that they have to be a member of the scheme when they're transferred, or if they're just there for a month, for example, they just started and they're in the scheme, do they still get transferred?
They've recently shortened the minimum time that you can claim a refund from the scheme. Basically, they want you to stay in the scheme. So I think it used to be 3 months, and you could have a refund, but now it's gone down to a month, I think. Don't quote me, Councillor Thomas, but they've definitely amended the timescales for eligible refunds. So in that regard, you know, if an employee has been in employment for a month, they're in the scheme, and so they've been eligible for that transfer then across from Mrs. Bucket.
Okay, that is that. I totally appreciate that we want to look after the staff that work for the council. Of course we do, and if they've been employed for a period of time. However, if someone's literally just started, I'm not so much thinking about this specific case, but obviously ongoing. If someone's, you know, been that does seem like a burden on the taxpayer. If someone's just started a job and then the company was transferred into this pension scheme, it does seem like a bit of a burden.
If their service was in relation to the council, and they were transferred, they would be eligible for membership. To be clear, this is a closed closed body, admitted body agreement. No new membership, no new employees in relation to Mrs. Bucket who discharging that contract will be allowed to join. So it's only the ones who were previously employed by the council who transfer to Mrs. Bucket will be eligible.
Yeah.
The scheme will then be closed as far as they're concerned, and then no more new joiners. So someone who just joins Mrs. Bucket tomorrow will not be eligible to join the scheme.
Yes, I understand that. I just think in my opinion, it seems a bit over generous if for example someone started at Mrs. Bucket at this school a month ago, and we've just now taken over the liability of their pension. In my opinion, that seems too generous. It should be maybe 3-6 months or something like that. But I'm not sure at this time.
To be clear, no new employee of Mrs. Bucket would be admitted into the scheme. They would have to have been an employee of the council previously before being allowed to transfer.
If I can just come in, I think what Will's trying to get at is specifically if there was somebody had joined the council as an employee of the council,
yes,
for a month, and then was transferred to me, would that be in order? There is no time limit for them to be with the council.
The corollary is, Councillor Thomas, is if the contract had stayed within Swansea Council, that employee would still have been a member of the scheme and contributions would still have been payable. So that employee would be in no worse or better position from having transferred to Mrs. Bucket. So it's not being more generous or less generous. Say the contract had stayed in-house, per se, that new employee, even though they're only employed for a month, would still be eligible to join the scheme. So it's almost irrelevant who the employer is in respect of that. Yeah.
Just for my information, Jeff, because I'm not quite clear on this. Obviously, if the employee is an employee of the council, the authority pays a certain percentage into the pension fund.
Correct.
When they're transferred to Mrs. Bucket or at AN other, do the AN other pay the?
Correct.
Right. So Mrs. Bucket's only paying her own contributions. And
correct.
Thank you.
We consult the actuary, and they sign off the contribution rate applicable. But because we're in surplus, and we've agreed to be the sponsoring body, the rate is been agreed that it's exactly what they're paying at the moment.
Any more questions? Oh, Phil.
Let's stick with Mrs. Bucket then, is it? So does this cover her then if she moves into another school and there's other employees to be across?
No.
Are they covered, or would you have to come back here again?
We would have to come back again. That's what I'm saying, that we will perhaps incorporate a blanket agreement and bring that for any future. So because this appears to be a direction of travel, obviously 2 and 2 years, and we've got 90 odd schools out there. They're all independent, they're all checkbook, they're all in management of their own budgets. They're trying to save money and etc. So hopefully we're trying to reduce the admin burden on committee about approving each one. So hopefully we'll come up with some legal mechanism to get your approval for a blanket approach.
Okay, Phil. Any more questions? No. There we are. So this is nothing remains now to be approved and voted on. So
thank you, Chair. You see the recommendations on page 187 of the pack. Can I have those in favour, please? Okay, thank you. That's unanimous, Chair. That's carried.
Thank you, Chair. Okay, so now we're moving on to the item 9, which is the breaches report, I believe.
So sorry, Jeremy, can you just revisit the approval, please?
Oh, sorry.
The full approval for that report. It's delegated to myself.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you say? Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Yes.
You want me to read them both out?
Yes, please. 1 and 2.
Okay. Okay, I'll go through the approval again, the recommendations again. Recommendation 1, the Pension Fund Committee approves the variation of the existing admission body agreement or drafting of a new admission agreement for Mrs. Bucket in respect of the Dylan Thomas Community School contract, subject to completion of a satisfactory admission agreement, which recognising the start date of the contract as advised by legal advisors. And 2, the Deputy Chief Finance Officer is given delegated authority to finalise the amended new admission agreement with appointed legal advisors as outlined in the report. If I can take a vote again, please. Those in favour? Okay, that's carried. Thank you.
Thanks, Chairman.
Thank you, Jeff, for bringing that to our attention. Yes, so now it's on to the breaches report, and this is for information. Jeff.
Thanks, Chairman. As you say, it's for information. Happy to take the usual questions on the new breaches at the end. If the new breaches would be on page 214 and 215, with the further detail then on page 215. Happy to take questions, Chair.
Any questions for Jeff on this item? No. Well, that was just for information only. And now I'd like to move to exclusion of the public. Can I? Noted and seconded. So could you stop the recording? There is a public recording.